I spent 13 years at Verizon, and in that world, we were taught that volume was the only way to win. More leads, more calls, more people on the sales floor. We believed that if you wanted to do the impossible, you needed a massive army. But then I started reading about Gideon. God took Gideon's army of 32,000 men, and then he started cutting. He cut it all the way down to 10,000. Then he cut it all the way down to 300. Now, as a sales guy, that looks like a disaster. But as a man of God, I realized that God wasn't trying to make Gideon fail. He was trying to make him listen. He was clearing the noise so that the only thing Gideon could rely on was the relationship he had with God. Let's look at where this started. Gideon wasn't a top performer when God found him. He was hiding in a wine press, trying to keep his grain away from the Midianites. He was discouraged, he was afraid, and yet God shows up and calls him a mighty warrior. In Judges 6, starting in verse 11, it says, "The angel of the Lord came and sat down under the oak in Ophrah that belonged to Joash the Abiezrite, where his son Gideon was threshing wheat in the winepress to keep it from the Midianites. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, 'The Lord is with you, mighty warrior.' 'Pardon me, my lord,' Gideon replied. 'But if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where are all his wonders that our ancestors told us about when they said, "Did not the Lord bring us out of Egypt?" But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us into the hand of Midian.' The Lord turned to him and said, 'Go in the strength that you have and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you?' There was a total disconnect between what Gideon saw in the mirror and what God saw in the relationship. Gideon asked questions. He asked for signs. And notice this, God wasn't mad at the questions. Why? Because the questions kept Gideon at the table. The dialogue is the relationship. God was using that season of fear to build a bond that would eventually allow 300 men to do what 30,000 couldn't. Why the 300? When they went down to the water, God watched how they drank. The ones who stayed alert, the ones who kept their eyes on the horizon while they were licked the water from their hands, those are the ones God chose. Relationship is a force multiplier. In the kingdom, 300 people who are in total sync with the Father's heart are more powerful than a stadium full of people who are just showing up for the show. Gideon's mission was driven by intimacy, not industry. When you are close to him, the logistics don't have to make sense for the mission to succeed. Leaving the car dealership back in April, when the commission wasn't there and the bills were stacking up, it felt like my army was being cut down to 300. It looked like less to my human eyes, but I see now that God was just clearing the static. He was taking away the distractions of the transactional world so I would finally have the time to hear his voice for this global outreach. If your resources feel small today, don't panic. You aren't being punished. You're being prepared for a Gideon-sized victory. At the Gathering Church International, we are building a home for the 300. We are looking for people who value the voice more than the volume. If you want to partner with us in Elgin and around the world, click the link in the description and in my bio. Your support helps us to keep the light burning for the remnant. I'm Peter Stain. Keep your eyes on the horizon. I'll see you tomorrow.